Hello, and welcome to coverage of Primordial's Discord Tournament number 4. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the Swiss Round 1 match between Barda and Hatoms. Primordial is a format which aims to imitate Limited in a sense, and the way that it does this is you make a 40-card deck, basically 6 uncommons, maximum 2 of each uncommon, and then 2 rares, and then finally any number of commons. All of the cards have to be from the same set, and then you just go. Notably, this is the first tournament since the release of Ikoria, so I'm interested to see if we have any decks from that set. But it looks like we won't be having that for now. Instead, it looks like blue-white humans from Hatoms, and from Barda, blue-black mill. Well, maybe mill. There is this mind funeral, but this deny reality, soul manipulation, and Vidalcan ghoul all feel like more tempo-y cards. It could just be that the mind funeral is a backup plan, since mill is just really good as an all-to-win con in Primordial because of the 40-card deck sizes. So I guess we will call this Alara blue-black tempo. Is going to start turn 1 by playing Mistvein Border Post, bouncing the swamp. Meanwhile, Hatoms has a turn 1 play of his own in this silver inlaid dagger, but that multi-5 really hurt him, and I don't know if it's going to be worth it in the end. Also, Hatoms does not have a second land, and notably does not have a white land, so that could really just end this game very quickly. Because if Barda just curves out here, so Vidalcan ghoul, just curves out here and then holds up interaction, like, I don't know that Hatoms can do anything. Because this is like the perfect thing for a tempo deck when your opponent's off their stride. And yeah, it doesn't have a land drop turn 2. I feel like Hatoms should have kept one of the earlier hands. If I remember right, they did have more lands than this. Yeah, unless I'm misremembering, this feels like a greedy mull that Hatoms is being punished for right now. When we're seeing Lichlord of Unks, that is one of the rares from Barda. And this is incredibly powerful, yeah. Offers both a mill and life loss win con, and can also generate a board on its own. If I'm Hatoms here, if I'm Barda here, I don't think I mind playing the Lichlord. Yeah, you just run out the Lichlord. And if they answer it, then oh well. If not, you still have the Vidalcan ghoul. You just want to capitalize as hard as you can on Hatoms stumbling. Yeah, playing the Lichlord is way more worth than holding up the soul manipulation. And then even if Hatoms plays something next turn, in 2 turns Barda can deny reality, and in the meantime can just use Lichlord to make some chump blockers. Hatoms does hit a second land, but it's another island, so the only thing that he has access to is this Think Twice. Okay, so only going to swing in with the Vidalcan ghoul. I guess is scared of a 2-drop flash creature. And also does want to use the tap ability of Lichlord. That's also another reason not to attack with it. This turn can hold up the soul manipulation, and then if Hatoms doesn't play anything worth countering, just plays just uses the Lichlord of Unks' ability to make a zombie wizard. And Hatoms fortunately does hit a plains off of the Think Twice on end, so we'll be able to run out the Village Bellringer, but Barda does have counter magic up for that. So yeah, on end, gonna create a zombie wizard. I think Hatoms should maybe cast a Village Bellringer in response from what he knows, because this is more of a shields down moment for Barda. But no, Hatoms is gonna let Barda pass, and now Barda does have the soul manipulation up to be able to counter this Village Bellringer. And also will still have 2 mana up for Lichlord of Unks. This Architects of Will also gets really disgusting. Oh, Barda is going to pay 5. Deny reality, bouncing a land? It can bounce the plains, and then is going to cascade into Cathari Remnant, which also has Cascade, So it's gonna cascade into Mind Funeral. Jesus. I feel like this is a little bit of a greedy play from Barda because holding up the soul manipulation with this Lich Lord of Unks basically guarantees you the win. But hey, I mean, it worked out. He gets the double cascade, and Hatoms mills a total of 8 cards there. So not actually that bad of a hit for Hatoms, only mills 4 non-land cards. Unfortunately, doesn't mill another Think Twice. That would be useful. Okay, so it's going to tap the planes for white before it gets bounced. So you can still cast the Village Bellringer. And yep, before the phases change, it's going to cast the Village Bellringer. You probably still attack with the Vidalcan Ghoul because you're content with Hatoms taking 4. Yeah, it's going to attack with the Vidalcan Ghoul. Hatoms just going to take 1 there. Unfortunately, though, Barda does not have interaction up, so Hatoms is going to be able to run out this top deck Invisible Stalker. The next turn, Bonds of Faith it, and then make it a 3/3 hexproof unblockable. Like, yeah, since this Invisible Stalker, yeah, now gets to immediately Curiosity the Invisible Stalker, and then next turn gets to Bonds of Faith it. So, yeah, I think Barda going shields down could actually lose him this game. Like that greedy cascade, maybe a little bit too greedy. And yeah, this Slave of Bolas is nice on anything that doesn't have hexproof. So if you're Barda, I think you need to try and mill Hatoms out at this point. Just Mind Funeral. Yeah, Mind Funeral number 2. Because that's Barda's fastest clock. Ooh, but wow, Hatoms hitting 4 lands in a row after the Spare from Evil. Only milling out 5 cards, which is still pretty good, but that could have gone so much worse for Hatoms. And now Hatoms has like a healthy amount of cards in deck and a healthy clock with this Invisible Stalker. And yeah, he's just going to swing in with the Vidalcan Gal again. But Hatoms is on, yeah, it's like a 17 turn clock. Hatoms just doesn't need to block it. An Invisible Stalker number 2 top deck. Not really what Hatoms needs right now, but yeah, I think you just run out the Bonds of Faith on the Invisible Stalker. I think it's a good thing. Just gonna swing in for. Oh no, it's actually gonna equip the Silver Inlaid Dagger. So he's getting in for 4. That's a quicker clock. I forgot that he had this, honestly. And draws into another Silver Inlaid Dagger, gets to play it. If he hits another land next turn, Silver Inlaid Dagger equip plus Bonds of Faith, hit in for a whopping 8 damage. Barda will be on a 2-turn clock. Yeah, this is... Like, Hatoms looked like he was on death's door at the start of this game with missing those land drops. And especially after Barda had the early Lich Lord of Unks. Speaking of which, is going to use it to create another zombie wizard. Yeah, like at this point, these soul manipulations don't do anything if Hatoms already has a creature resolved. So Barda is going to tap 5. Slave of Bolas on the Village Bellringer. I almost feel like that's fine, but I feel like at this point, if you're Barda, should have played the Architects of Will, and then try to manipulate Hatoms' draw so he doesn't hit anything more for this Invisible Stalker. Like, I don't know that getting in 1 extra damage and killing the village... I guess killing the Village Bellringer does let all the other creatures attack in, is the important point. So swings in for a nice solid 6 damage. Hatoms is on a 2-turn clock. But again, if Hatoms just hits a land off the top of his library, we'll be able to Bonds of Faith plus... And there's a land! So we'll be able to Silver Inlaid Dagger plus Bonds of Faith buff this Invisible Stalker up to an 8/4. So yep, first going to equip the Silver Inlaid Dagger, but is not attaching the Bonds of Faith? That is surprising to me. I guess wants to hold up the Feeling of Dread just in case Barda has a combat trick. This Jessian Zombies, like, Barda can't even cast it, and it's awful if you cast it. It's basically just there for the fixing cycling, I think. But, Yeah, I think at this point you just have to play. Yeah, I don't know. Like, cycle Architects of Will? That's actually not half bad an idea at this point. Just cycle it. Or just play it as like another aggressive body. And then does that threaten a kill next turn? Yeah, actually, I think that would be better because attacks him with everything this turn, does a total of 5 damage. Then you play Architects of Will, and then even if Hatoms is able to play a blocker next turn, you can kill Hatoms. So yeah, I think just playing the Architect of Will is the right play here. I was going to cycle the Jessian zombies, but yeah, at this point I don't know. Yeah, like there's no way for Barda to win because he doesn't have an answer for this Invisible Stalker, and then next turn Hatoms just plays Bonds of Faith or a Moment of Heroism, and then it's all over. And then is going to play the Soul Manipulation, getting back the Jessian zombies. I guess it's deck thinning, but I feel like it would have been better to just cycle or play the Architects of Will. Okay, it is going to cycle the Architects of Will now, but I feel like should have done that first. And hitting a Mistvein Border Post, I guess that wouldn't have helped either way. And once more is going to swing in for 5. Hatoms does have the Feeling of Dread. Is going to tap down the Unks and one of the wizards just to be extra safe. So yeah, only gets in for 2 on Hatoms. Passes to Hatoms. And there's the Geist of Saint Traft. I guess that's the backup for this Invisible Stalker, but doesn't need a backup now. Just gonna play the Moment of Heroism and that's game. Okay, so we're getting into game 2 here. Yeah, I think this is definitely gonna be a hard matchup for Barda. Or well, it depends. With Barda on the play, yeah, even with Barda on the play, Hatoms can get an Invisible Stalker down under his counter magic. So Barda can't have a shields down moment because once an Invisible Stalker resolves, the game is basically over for him. Meanwhile, Hatoms has to play around Barda's counter magic and try to resolve a hexproof creature because if Hatoms manages to resolve an Invisible Stalker, he's pretty much got the game in the bag. So, speaking of which, Hatoms does have turn 1 Invisible Stalker on hand. Not turn 1, sorry, turn 2. Into a Silver Inlaid Dagger, turn 3, and then just kind of curve out. Like, then you're doing 5 damage turn 3, and you've got them dead in a few turns. Like, that's a 4-turn clock from there. Like, this is pretty much the perfect curve for Hatoms. Meanwhile, Barda mulling to 5 off of what I felt was a perfectly keepable one-lander, because you play the land, play Mistvein Border Post. Next turn, you play your only land and then use it to cycle Jessian zombies into a second land, and then just kind of go from there. This hand is much worse. And oh wait, what? Was this a mulligan to 3? No way. No way. Barda, you had a perfectly good hand before. Okay, yeah, I don't see any way that Barda's winning this off of a mull to 3. Has 2 lands and an unplayable card in his hand. Meanwhile, Hatoms has the perfect curve out. Yeah, this is... I mean, I did count Hatoms out after that 1-land hand last game, but man, this is so much worse than that. This is so much worse than that, it isn't even funny. Hatoms even has the backup Invisible Stalker, even if Barda somehow, like, sided in an Edict. And oh, whoops, there's another unplayable card. Maybe Barda was, like, aggressively mulling for some sort of sideboard tech, but I feel like that's just not the right call. And yeah, here's the turn 2 Invisible Stalker. And a mountain? Wow, okay. Maybe did Barda bring in mountains from the side? Because we didn't see any in the first game. I'm wondering what this could be for. Maybe some sort of artifact destruction, like a smelt? Guess that would kind of help, not really. Now does have 3 mana up. I feel like you just play the Mind Funeral, maybe? I don't know, like, holding up Soul Manipulation is fine, but now Hatoms already has an Invisible Stalker. Or I guess the optimal play is hold up Soul Manipulation, because then if Hatoms plays a second creature, depending if you're out as an Edict, because if Barda did bring in an Edict, it would be better to hold up the Soul Manipulation. But I guess it's just going to run out the Mind Funeral. Mills Hatoms for a healthy, is that like, that's 11 cards. That was a whopping hit of a Mind Funeral. Hatoms, It's turn 3 and Hatoms is down to half his starting library size. That might be actually how Barda wins this. If he just keeps hitting mill cards, could maybe kill Hatoms before this Invisible Stalker does. But is just going to swing in for 4 with this Invisible Stalker for now. Has Barda on a 4-turn clock now. And Barda just hitting another land. Has the Soul Manipulation up. Not that I think it's going to do much good. And yeah, Soul Manipulation can't counter this Bonds of Faith. So Barda is now on a 3-turn clock instead of a 4-turn one. And then yeah, main 2, Hatoms is just going to play out the second Invisible Stalker. Barda is going to Soul Manipulate that. Otherwise, Hatoms would have been completely Edict Proof. And oh no, another land for Barda. I feel like even playing the island out is probably a mistake, because if it's the last card in your hand, you probably want to bluff counter magic just in case. But yeah, Hatoms is just going to swing in with this beefy Invisible Stalker. Has the Village Bellringer to flash in case of an Edict. Oh, and is going to play a Think Twice from his graveyard, which must have been milled from the Mind Funeral. Has another one too. These flashback cards coming in clutch. But yeah, top deck Mistvein Border Post is going to seal this game for Barda. Just going to play it out. Yeah, if Barda had hit an Edict there, then not leaving up mana for the Village Bellringer could have been devastating for Hatoms. But fortunately for him, that doesn't come to pass. And Hatoms takes this set in a clean 2-0. Good games to both players, but Hatoms on blue-white humans, or arguably blue-white boggles from Avacyn Restored, beats Barda, who seems to be on Grixis or blue-black tempo from, I believe it's Conflux, or one of the, I don't know exactly which Alara set it is, unfortunately, but I will look that up in a sec. But yeah, good games. And I think even though Barda did misplay at certain points, I think his deck does look very strong. As long as you can keep up the card advantage and interaction, he definitely has. Oh, and I guess the Terminate must have been what the red splash is for. But yeah, it wouldn't have mattered versus the Invisible Stalkers. Yeah, and I think similarly, Hatoms' deck looks really strong, and the only things that could plausibly beat it are Edicts, Rats, and, good old-fashioned Mill. And even if the Invisible Stalker plan doesn't work out for some reason, I think just Humans aggro is not bad at all. It doesn't need to draw an Invisible Stalker for the rest of the deck to be pretty devastating. And the flashback acts as virtual card advantage. So I think I'm excited to see how both these decks perform going forward. But yeah, until then, this is Caillou signing off.